Welcome, directors, to what I think will be a truly transformative session for you. Today, we're going to tackle something pretty challenging that I'm sure many of you have felt in the rehearsal room, maybe without even having a name for it. We call it fix-it fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
You know that feeling, right? You're deep in rehearsal, pouring everything you have into it, but it just feels like you're dragging dead weight through thick quicksand.
Yeah.
Every line reading feels off, needs reshaping. You try everything.
Over and over.
Exactly, over and over. And the scene just lies there.
Mm-hmm.
It refuses to lift off the page. It's like, trying to inflate a balloon that's full of holes. All that effort, all that air, and nothing.
Right, it just deflates.
So we're going to unpack this today. Really get into it.
Yeah.
And we'll be looking at it through the lens of a very powerful framework, the Ivana Chubbuck technique. Because this isn't just about being tired, is it?
No, not at all.
It feels like something deeper, a systemic problem that really needs a different way of thinking, a shift in how you approach the work.
Yeah.
Understanding what actually lights up an actor, what makes a scene truly live.
That's precisely it. Fix-it fatigue. It's much more than just physical exhaustion. It's a sign of a profound misalignment, a gap between the effort you're putting in and the results you're getting.
Yeah.
You find yourself applying all this, surface level effort, tweaking this, adjusting that, but you see absolutely no real elevation in the scene, no clarity, no actual life.
It stays flat.
It stays flat because fundamentally it's built on a hollow foundation. You can push harder, yes, you can talk louder, give more notes, make endless external adjustments, but pushing doesn't equal elevation.
Right.
And the volume of your input, it doesn't translate into clarity of intention for the actor, not for the scene either. So if a scene consistently refuses to lift, that's a big red flag. It's an urgent signal telling you something fundamental, something underneath the surface is broken.
Something's missing at the core.
Exactly. The emotional engine of that scene. It just hasn't been turned on. And in the Chubbuck technique, we understand that this engine runs on truth, on genuine visceral pursuit, on deeply felt personal psychological stakes.
Not just surface adjustments.
Absolutely not. So our goal here in the session is to help you move beyond that draining, ultimately futile cycle of constant fixing.
Yeah.
Instead, we need to embrace this understanding, truth, authentic pursuit, and those high psychological stakes. Those are the only things that will truly ignite a scene, elevate it, liberate it. You simply cannot fix a performance into existence.
You have to provoke its truth.
You have to provoke its truth into existence. That's the key.
That description, dragging dead weight through quicksand, it really lands. Because it is more than just being tired after a long day. It feels like it's being swallowed up by something unproductive, something that isn't actually leading to those breakthroughs we all crave.
It's demoralizing.
It is. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because like you said, this isn't just about working hard. Burnout, this specific kind of fatigue, it isn't a badge of honor. It's not proof of your dedication.
No, quite the opposite.
It's actually a signal, isn't it?
Yeah.
A sign that there's been maybe a profound misdiagnosis of what's actually wrong. When the real issue, the scene's core, or maybe the actor's connection to it, is suffering from something much deeper. Like you said, a kind of spiritual malnourishment.
Indeed. The burnout directors face, especially this fix-it fatigue, it isn't a measure of dedication. It's a powerful indicator of misdiagnosis. It's the exhaustion that comes from applying endless surface treatments like patching symptoms when the scene itself and the actor's connection are essentially starving underneath. From the perspective of the Chubbuck technique, there are several, I'd say, dangerous misconceptions that trap directors in this cycle. They keep them there, preventing real breakthroughs and just feeding the fatigue.
What are some of those?
Well, first, there's this deeply ingrained belief that more effort from the director will somehow fix it. Your instinct, when a scene isn't working, is often just to push harder.
Right. Give more notes, be more specific.
Exactly. You might feel you need to direct every tiny detail, every flicker of an eyelash, thinking that sheer volume of input will somehow force the scene to life. But that's a trap. It often leads to over-directing, which can actually smother the actor's own organic impulse. Second, this leads to what I call stacking fixes on top of fixes. It's like trying to patch a sinking ship with duct tape. You just keep adding layers.
Hoping one will stick.
Right. Notes on top of notes, adjustments on adjustments, hoping enough superficial mending will create something solid. But the truth is, no amount of sweat, no amount of external fixing will ever save a scene built on a hollow emotional foundation. The core has to be sound.
Makes sense.
Third, this idea that your effort equals elevation, or that the volume of your direction equals clarity for the actor, that's a fundamental error. If the scene isn't lifting, it's not because you haven't said enough. It's because something deeper is broken, disconnected from that genuine emotional engine. Your energy on surface fixes is often just wasted.
Misdirected.
Utterly misdirected. Fourth, you often find yourself solving the wrong problem entirely. You're patching symptoms, rearranging the furniture in a house whose foundations are crumbling.
Focusing on the visible, not the invisible.
Precisely. Tinkering with blocking, line reading, surface emotions, hoping to fix a void deep inside the character's intention or their internal life. You become a mechanic for the wrong engine. Fifth, and this one's insidious, many directors wear burnout like a badge of honor, like it proves how committed they are.
Well, I've seen that.
But burnout isn't proof of dedication. It is unequivocally a flare signal, an urgent warning that the whole system, your process, the actor's approach, the scene's foundation is profoundly off balance. It means someone, maybe you, maybe the actor, isn't doing the essential deeper work, or maybe actively avoiding it.
Okay.
Sixth, the misconception that great direction means constant input, filling every silence with commentary. But as we'll discuss, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Say nothing. Silence, used strategically, can be incredibly potent.
Interesting.
Seventh, this idea that the director is just a mechanic, slapping on new parts when something breaks. This really diminishes your role. The Chubbuck approach sees the director as more of an architect, a sculptor, shaping the soul of the performance.
It's just tweaking the outside.
Exactly. Eighth, the dangerous idea that your job is to provide all the answers. Handing solutions to the actor? That's not it at all. Your real power lies in excavating the right questions. The provocative, sometimes terrifying questions that force the actor to find their own truth.
Questions, not answers.
Questions, not answers. And finally, the misconception that you are the actor's crutch, feeling obligated to carry them, do the work for them. But this well-intentioned overfunctioning just creates dependency. It prevents them from achieving mastery.
So you end up exhausted.
Yeah.
And they don't grow.
Precisely. These misconceptions fuel fix-it fatigue and block genuine artistic breakthroughs.
Wow. Hearing those laid out, it really forces you to look at your own habits, things you might have been doing for years without questioning. It's clear that moving past this fatigue requires a pretty radical shift. It's not about doing more, is it? It sounds like it's about shifting from just doing to really seeing.
Exactly. Seeing the scene, seeing the actor, seeing the unvarnished truth of the moment.
And understanding what the Chubbuck technique actually asks of us in that moment.
Absolutely. The director's true role goes way beyond being a mechanic adjusting surface parts. Within this framework, you are much more like a detective or a sculptor. Even a surgeon.
A surgeon. How so?
Your task is to dissect the performance, to examine the truth beneath the surface with the kind of precision you'd expect from an X-ray. You're looking for what's missing, what's dead in the eyes, what's disconnected from a genuine primal need.
Okay.
When a scene isn't lifting, it's because something underneath is broken, something in the character's core drive, or maybe in the actor's connection to that drive. To fix it properly, you have to be willing to go back to the bones. Tear it down to the studs, metaphorically speaking.
And rebuild it with truth.
Rebuild it with absolute truth. And that means asking foundational questions, questions that cut through the superficial layers, that expose the very core of the character's struggle. These are the questions that break through fix-it fatigue.
What kind of questions are we talking about?
First, you have to ask with absolute precision, what does this character truly want? Not just what the script says they want. What do they want in their gut at a soul level?
Not just a surface goal.
No. Is this need primal, desperate, deeply personal? Is it a soul level necessity with a sense of life or death urgency? Or is it just a superficial want, something intellectual? The Chubbuck technique insists on that life or death urgency.
Why is that distinction so critical?
Because if that fundamental objective is missing, or if it's vague, what you end up watching is just choreography. It might look polished, maybe even technically correct, but it's hollow, lifeless. It lacks the driving force of genuine, absolute need.
Give me an example.
Okay, think of a scene where a character needs a job. A superficial want is, I want to impress the interviewer. Fine. But a life or death, soul level necessity could be, if I don't get this job, I lose my home, my family is out on the street, and I see myself as a complete failure, unworthy of love or respect.
Wow, okay. The stakes are completely different.
Monumentally different. That's the level of urgency we need. Second foundational question. What truth is everyone avoiding in this scene? Or maybe even, what truth is the actor afraid to admit? What terrifies them? Either as the character or maybe even subconsciously as the performer. What uncomfortable reality are they or their character subtly dancing around? This is often where the real, raw psychological stakes are hiding, beneath layers of defense or, polite performance.
So it might not be explicit in the text.
An actor might be perfectly willing to show sadness, for example, but are they willing to admit to the core vulnerability underneath that? Maybe a deep fear of being alone, which is what really drives their need in the scene. That's the truth we need to uncover.
Okay. And the third question.
What primal need drives the fight in every single moment? Every action, every word, every silence. It must be driven by an underlying desperate need, something fundamental, tied to survival, emotional, psychological, or physical survival. It's the engine propelling them forward, moment by moment, towards their objective.
Constant propulsion.
Yes. If these foundational cornerstones of the Chubbuck methodology are ignored or glossed over, the performance inevitably stays superficial. It looks like acting, sure, but it feels hollow. The authentic emotional engine hasn't been engaged. And engaging that engine is what lifts the scene beyond just performance.
Those questions are incredibly potent. They really drive home that acting isn't just about showing emotion. It's about this deep, internal, active struggle, driven by very specific primal needs. So let's go deeper into these core components that make acting real. The things that, when you engage them through the Chubbuck technique, truly ignite a scene.
Absolutely. To really understand why fix-it fatigue happens, and crucially, how to overcome it, we have to ground ourselves in these essentials: objective, tactics, and psychological stakes. They are the absolute lifeblood of any compelling, truthful performance, and they're all interconnected within this framework.
Okay, let's start with objective. You touched on the life or death aspect.
Yes, and it's paramount. In the Chubbuck technique, we stress constantly that without a crystal clear, deeply felt life or death urgency tied to that core objective, there's simply no genuine urgency in the performance. And without urgency, there's no real life.
It has to be a need, not just a want.
An absolute soul-level necessity, something so vital that their very being, their sense of self, their fundamental happiness, maybe even their survival, depends entirely on achieving it. It cannot be weak. It cannot be negotiable in their mind.
And if it is weak, if the director allows that,
then you are directly contributing to fix-it fatigue. Because the actor lacks that compelling, visceral drive to fight. The scene becomes polite. It becomes talking heads. It lacks struggle. Think about escaping a burning building. The objective isn't just to get out. It's to survive this inferno and see my children again. That's the required
I
urgency.
got it. Okay, so objective is the what?
Tactics are the how. They are the specific, playable action verbs the character uses moment to moment, trying to achieve their objective. And these tactics must be active, dynamic.
What does active mean here?
It means they are action verbs that actively try to force a behavior or a response from the other character. They demand something. If your objective is as basic as needing oxygen, then every tactic is a new, desperate way to breathe, a new strategy to survive against resistance.
And they have to change.
Constantly. Tactics must shift and adapt based on the resistance the character meets. You can't achieve a life or death objective by just doing the same thing over and over. That repetition, even if it looks emotional, leads nowhere. It's a sign the actor isn't genuinely in the struggle. It breeds fix-it fatigue.
Because they're not thinking, not adapting.
Precisely. Remember, in this technique, variety of tactic is variety of thought. An actor endlessly repeating one approach isn't truly fighting. They're stuck. For instance, if the objective is to seduce someone, they might start by charming them. If that doesn't work, maybe they flirt, then challenge, then disarm. Each is a distinct active tactic adapting to the situation.
Okay, objective tactics. And the third leg is stakes. Psychological stakes.
Yes. And these must be defined with absolute, uncompromising precision. You have to ask, and the actor must know, what happens to this character psychologically, emotionally, spiritually if they don't win? If they fail to achieve their objective?
This is the cost of losing.
Exactly. The profound personal cost. Real acting, as we understand it, is pursuit. And that pursuit has to feel like it costs something deeply personal. Irrevocably personal. If those psychological stakes aren't vividly, almost tangibly bleeding out of every tactic the character uses.
The audience feels it.
The audience feels a deadness, a performance on autopilot. They witness what we call safe, contained, intellectual acting. It never risks cracking open. It never risks the ego's sacrifice.
Ego's sacrifice.
Real acting demands vulnerability. It demands the willingness to break open, expose oneself in the desperate pursuit of that profound need. Without that deeply felt cost, the performance stays superficial. And any attempt to fix it from the outside is useless because the core engine, the urgency driven by stakes, is missing.
That makes perfect sense. If the actor isn't really fighting for something that could break them, psychologically, the audience just won't buy it. They'll sense the lack of real jeopardy.
Precisely.
So how can directors get better at spotting this? Recognizing the symptoms in rehearsal when a performance might look okay on the surface, but it's fundamentally missing that truth, that pursuit, that Chubbuck core.
It's a crucial skill to develop. You need a keen eye, almost like a diagnostician. When you see a performance that is technically proficient, maybe the lines are perfect, the timing seems right, the emotion looks appropriate, but it feels dead, inert, unengaging, that's when alarm bells should ring.
That's the simulation you mentioned.
Exactly. Emotional simulation or choreography. The actor is performing an emotion rather than experiencing it as a byproduct of genuinely fighting for their objective.
What are the telltale signs?
Often it's the absence of a deep connection. Look for repetition of tactics. The actor tries the same approach again and again without really adapting to the other character's resistance.
They're stuck in a loop.
Yes. They make safe choices that are predictable, contained, not the bold, risky choices that would come from true desperation to win. The emotion might be visible, but it feels hollow, not connected to an urgent need.
Performing pursuit versus being in pursuit.
That's the key distinction. They are performing the act of trying, going through the motions, rather than genuinely being in pursuit, actively, desperately fighting, moment by moment. They're showing you the emotion, perhaps beautifully, instead of using that emotion as a weapon or a tool to get what they need.
So it becomes presentation, not pursuit.
Exactly. They're playing a mood, I'm sad, I'm angry, a generalized state, instead of fighting for a specific vital need. They emote without fighting. The emotion is the endpoint, a display, not a strategic tool in the battle. They might show pain, externalize it for the audience, but they're not weaponizing that pain, letting it fuel their drive to win, to achieve their objective at any cost.
Can you give an example of weaponizing pain?
Sure, an actor might weep convincingly, technically perfect tears. But if that weeping isn't a strategic choice, maybe to manipulate the other character, to elicit sympathy, to break down their resistance so the actor can win their objective, then it's just an empty display. It's an exhibition, not an action rooted in need. And often you'll see actors focusing only on the external obstacles. The yelling boss, the locked door, whatever, they fight that. But the real battle, the one the Chubbuck technique demands we find, is often internal.
The inner struggle.
Yes. The deep-seated fear of abandonment, the hunger to be enough, the desperate need for control. If the actor only engages with the external circumstance, the performance stays superficial. It lacks that internal war that gives it authentic power and makes it truly compelling. Your job is to distinguish the display from the drive and push the actor towards the drive.
That distinction, performing pursuit versus being in pursuit, that's incredibly clarifying. It shifts the whole focus from how it looks to what the actor is actually fighting for internally.
Yeah.
For directors who are maybe used to always having a note, always fixing, always adjusting, this next idea might feel, well, counterintuitive. But you mentioned it's powerful. Silence.
It is. It's one of the most potent and often most underutilized tools you have as a director working within this framework. Sometimes, truly, the smartest, most powerful, most transformative thing you can possibly do is just shut up.
Just be quiet.
Yes. And this isn't about disengaging. It's not checking out. It's a deliberate, highly strategic act of holding the space. It's actually a profound demonstration of trust in the actor's potential to find it themselves.
How does silence achieve that?
Your silence, used intentionally, creates a vacuum, a void in the room. And into that space, the actor has no choice but to bring their own instincts, their own desperation, their own truth to fill it.
Because you're not filling it for them.
Exactly. When you're constantly talking, constantly giving notes, even with the best intentions, you're sending a subtle message. I don't fully trust you to find this. But when you stay quiet, truly quiet, letting the scene play out for longer than might feel comfortable, you compel them. You force them to step into the arena alone, to grapple with the scene and their objective without that immediate safety net of your commentary.
It puts the onus on them.
Completely. And this strategic silence gives them invaluable permission. Permission to play, permission to fail spectacularly, to experiment boldly, to make messy, even wrong choices without that immediate fear of correction or judgment.
And breakthroughs come from that space.
The most profound breakthroughs, those electric, unscripted moments, they rarely come directly from your words. They come from provocation, from the actor pushing themselves beyond their known limits. And your silence is a provocation.
How so?
It communicates with absolute clarity. I'm watching. I believe in you. I know the truth is in you. Now go fight for it. It's yours to discover, not mine to give you.
So you have to tolerate the discomfort.
You must allow the discomfort of that silence to do its work. That space, that fertile, often uncomfortable territory between comfort and risk. That's where authentic transformation happens. Your silence is the pressure cooker. It's the catalyst that cracks open something raw, something undeniably real, something that ignites the scene from within. It forces them to own the work, to find the truth in their gut, not just follow instructions. It's empowering them to truly live their character's fight.
That's a radical shift for a lot of directors, I imagine. Trusting the silence, trusting the actor. It reframes the role entirely from manager of externals to strategic provoker of internal truth.
Precisely.
And building on that idea of precision, you talked about diagnosing rather than just fixing. Like a surgeon, not just someone piling on more ideas. Can you elaborate on that? How does a director diagnose effectively?
Yes, the surgical analogy is apt. In the Chubbuck technique, you're not a mechanic just swapping parts. You are, as we said, a detective, a sculptor, a surgeon of the human spirit. Your primary job isn't to pile on new ideas or tactics. It's often more about peeling away the layers that don't serve, the things that are crowding the actor's authentic process, suffocating it.
Okay, so what should a director look for? What are they diagnosing?
Ask yourself meticulously, what is genuinely crowding the actor's process right now? Are they overloaded? Too much external technique, maybe too many notes from you, too much intellectualizing that's actually smothered their gut instinct.
Trying to do too much.
Exactly. Trying to juggle too many instructions instead of simply fighting for one urgent objective. Then look closely at the authenticity of their substitution. Is it truly personal, deeply resonant, emotionally available right now? Or is it just a vague idea, an intellectual placeholder?
A concept instead of a connection.
Precisely. Are they relying on the idea of an emotion or experience instead of a direct, visceral connection to their own truth, a connection that actually sparks real, observable behavior? If the substitution isn't authentic, if it doesn't hit them personally, the performance will feel hollow, no matter the effort. It lacks that personal charge fueling the fight.
Okay, substitution. What else?
Meticulously examine the obstacles they're playing. Is the obstacle they're focusing on truly internal, rooted in the character's psychology? Or is it merely external? A scene stays flat, stays superficial. If the character is only fighting an external battle, the boss, the partner, the locked door, while the real internal war.
The fear, the need for control.
Right. That rages untouched beneath the surface. The external fight lacks depth and urgency if it's not fueled by that internal war. The Chubbuck technique emphasizes finding those internal obstacles, the psychological struggles.
That's where the real stakes lie.
That's where they live. And finally, be vigilant for that trap of playing a mood instead of a need. Are they emoting without fighting for something specific and vital? Are they showing pain instead of weaponizing it to win their objective? These are all classic signs of a performance stuck on the surface. Your role as diagnostician is to pinpoint these underlying issues and peel them back, not just slab another fix on top.
Peeling away, not piling on. That's a crucial distinction. It's about clarity, not just more stuff. And to get that clarity, you mentioned asking better questions. Let's circle back to the strategic use of provocative questions, the kind that, as you said, might even terrify the actor a bit, but unlock something real.
Yes, this is fundamental. As a director using this approach, your greatest tool isn't providing answers. It's your skill in excavating the right question. Questions that cut through the defenses, bypass the intellect, and demand vulnerability. These are the terrifying questions because they force a confrontation with discomfort, with hidden truths.
Can you give some more examples of these kinds of questions?
Consider asking, what is this character truly willing to do to win? This pushes the actor to the edge, makes them consider the boundaries or lack thereof in their character's desperate pursuit. It forces them to confront the darker or perhaps more vulnerable aspects of their character's will, leads to bolder choices.
Okay, what else?
Try. What is the actor still afraid to admit to themselves? This could be about the character, or maybe about their own personal connection or lack thereof to the role. It probes their personal blocks, their ego's resistance. It demands painful honesty, which can unlock profound connection. This isn't therapy, mind you. It's about removing personal resistance to the character's truth. Or ask, what truth are we all dancing around in this room, including you, the director? This acknowledges unspoken tensions or collective avoidance that might be stifling the scene. It can be very revealing.
Takes courage to ask that.
It does.
Yeah.
And what haven't they tried yet? Because it genuinely scares them. This directly challenges their comfort zone, pushes them toward choices that feel vulnerable but might be exactly what the scene needs for authenticity. It asks them to lean into fear, not away from it.
Embrace the risk.
Precisely. And always circle back to, what is the true cost of losing? Not just superficially, but psychologically, emotionally, spiritually for this character. This hammers home the psychological stakes, forcing that deep, gut-wrenching understanding of the consequences of failure, makes the pursuit truly urgent. They're designed to make actors pause, sweat, maybe even shake a little, rethink everything. They bypass the quick, easy answers and go straight for the gut, for raw vulnerability, for personal responsibility. They demand that sacrifice of ego we talked about. Your job is to be brave enough to ask them and then hold the space while the actor finds their answer.
Those questions feel incredibly sharp, surgical almost, designed to cut through the noise and get right to the heart of it. It really underlines how this approach empowers the actor rather than making them dependent on constant fixes. Which brings us back to that underlying dynamic, the one that often fuels fix-it fatigue itself.
Yes, this is a critical piece of the puzzle underpinning so much of what the Chubbuck technique addresses. That fatigue, that burnout, it's a clear signal, a flare, that the whole creative system in your rehearsal space is off balance.
How so?
Put simply, if you, the director, are doing all the heavy lifting, carrying the creative weight, the emotional load, the intellectual burden for the scene, then your actors are not. It's that simple. And that's not collaboration. It's codependency, artistic codependency. And it ultimately harms everyone, especially the work.
So the director becomes the crutch.
Exactly. You are meant to be the catalyst, not the crutch. But your well-intentioned over-functioning, jumping in to fix everything, providing every answer, it actively enables their under-functioning. It fosters dependency, not mastery.
Even if you think you're helping.
Especially when you think you're helping. When you constantly fill every void, offer every solution, carry the scene's emotional weight, you inadvertently prevent your actors from stepping into their own power. You stop them from confronting what is theirs to confront. You rob them of the essential process of discovery.
Which is where the real acting comes from.
It's where it lives. So to break this cycle, you have to sometimes quite literally take your foot off the gas, force them to drive.
Make them sweat a bit.
Make them sweat. Make them own their choices. Make them own their failures and their breakthroughs. Real growth, real mastery, and the vibrant performances that come from it emerge from that deep sense of ownership.
So if I'm feeling that fatigue,
if you are feeling exhausted, if that fix-it fatigue is setting in, it's almost certainly because your actors are avoiding something vital, consciously or unconsciously, something that is theirs to grapple with emotionally, psychologically, spiritually within the scene, within their character's objective. You are not meant to be the engine, the driver, and the GPS all at once.
Step back.
Step back.
Yeah.
Let the silence hang. Let the discomfort do its necessary work. It's in that challenging space, that struggle, that true transformation happens for them and for the scene.
That is such a powerful reframe. You are not meant to be the emotional engine, the creative driver, and the GPS all at once. It feels liberating, actually, for the director, and it demands real agency from the actor. We've covered so much ground today, from really defining that debilitating fix-it fatigue to the power of diagnosing precisely, using silence strategically, asking those provocative questions, all through the lens of the Ivana Chubbuck technique.
Yes, it's about shifting the entire approach.
So wrapping this up,
Right.
What does this all mean? What's the key takeaway for a director walking out of this session, heading back into rehearsal?
I think what this entire session boils down to is one fundamental truth for your practice as a director, a truth that, if you really embrace it, will liberate you and your actors. And it's this: fixing drains, pursuit ignites.
Fixing drains, pursuit ignites.
Your creative energy is precious. Don't waste it patching symptoms endlessly. Instead, provoke truth. Shift your focus. Move away from just correcting the surface errors and dive deep into unearthing that character's core life or death objective. Foster their desperate, varied tactics. Elevate their profound psychological stakes.
And the fatigue disappears.
When you do that, you'll find that burnout, that fatigue, it starts to vanish, because now your actors are owning the fight. They are genuinely engaged in true visceral pursuit. And that kind of authentic struggle is inherently energizing. It's not draining. It builds energy.
Because they're driving now.
They're driving. So remember this when you go back to your work. Until that core truth, the character's absolute need, their primal objective, the deep personal cost of losing, until that is named, understood, and hunted with absolute ferocity. No amount of fixing will ever set that scene free.
So the question to keep asking is,
Ask yourself, with every scene that feels stuck, every time you feel that fatigue creeping in, what core need isn't truly being fought for here? Who in this room, and be honest, it might include you, who is still avoiding the uncomfortable truth that holds the key? The truth that will unlock this performance and make it finally vibrate with life. That question, asked with precision and courage, is your compass.
that's a powerful, challenging thought to carry forward. The shift from mechanic to diagnostician, from crutch to catalyst. It's not just about making better art, it seems. It's about a more sustainable, insightful, and ultimately fulfilling way to direct.
It is.
Thank you for walking us through this. It's been incredibly illuminating. And for everyone listening, thank you for joining us for this crucial session. We really encourage you to take these principles, experiment with them boldly in your own rehearsals. See what happens when you stop fixing and start provoking truth. Until next time, keep digging.